What is up, my friends? It is World Series Day here in Toronto, everywhere, really, and I am live here in Toronto. Just a couple minute walk from the stadium. I was over there yesterday for Media Day. Vibes are high. Vibes could not be higher with this World Series in Toronto. I have never been here. I've absolutely loved every second of being here. I do have a World Series prediction. We're going to talk through that in this episode. We're going to talk through the strengths and weaknesses and X factors of each team. And then we're going to get all the way to a prediction. I do have the chat open, so I would love to hear from all of you. Feel free to ask any questions throughout, anything you want answered, anything you want to tell me, any conversation you want to have, please. Let me hear it. I would love to have it. Vibes are high here in Toronto. My vibes couldn't be higher. I am pumped up for today. I think this series is going to be awesome. I really do. I think this series is going to be great. It's strength against strength. The Dodgers starting pitching against the Blue Jays offense. Not just their offense. It's not that their offense is good, because obviously the Dodgers offense and lineup 1 through 9 might be better, but it's the Blue Jays approach and the way that they approach a pitching staff, an opposing pitching staff, that gets me really excited, because there is no denying how good and dominant the Dodgers team is. But with what the Blue Jays are able to do offensively, I really think that's obviously going to be the story of this postseason, or of this World Series. So it all starts today, 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific. Every single game of the World Series will be the same thing, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. So even in game 3, 4, 5, when it shifts to LA, it will still start at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Let me make sure everything is up and running perfectly. Seems like it is. I see the chat. Come to Toronto more frequently. Absolutely. I love it here. I'm excited to talk through my prediction and everything. Just throw it all out the window. Everything I thought I knew about this series, I honestly think has changed since I landed in Toronto, including the pronunciation of the city itself, which I thought was Toronto. It's not. It's Toronto. Toronto. All right, let's talk through these teams. You have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are trying to go back-to-back and become the first back-to-back champion since 2000, the New York Yankees. 1998, 1999, and 2000. There has not been a repeat champion in Major League Baseball since the year 2000. That's pretty crazy. On the other side of things, the Toronto Blue Jays have not been here since 1993. Tonight, the first World Series game will be played outside of U.S. borders for the first time in 32 years. So it's really a big contrast here. Obviously, there's a lot of players on the Blue Jays. I would say the majority, including their superstar, Vladdy Jr., wasn't born the last time the World Series was outside of the United States. And tonight that gets to happen because of him, because of those guys. So there's the storylines here. Dodgers trying to go back-to-back. They're in front of all of our eyes, sort of becoming a villain of Major League Baseball, which I think is fantastic for the game. Not really because of anything they've done wrong. People just don't like that they're getting all these players, but they're investing their revenue back into the team more so than everybody else, and that's a whole conversation to have. But I don't think by any means we've seen the conversation out there. Oh, what the Dodgers are doing for baseball, boo. I absolutely love what they've done. They're just becoming a villain because people don't want to see them go back to back. So we'll see what happens. But there's that narrative. There's the Toronto Blue Jays, which are a Canadian baseball team, and all of Canada is rooting for them. And the World Series hasn't been outside of the United States in 32 years. And you have this team that is young and exciting and weren't really supposed to be here, and now they've been thriving. So that there's that narrative as well. And then there's the two teams. The two teams in the Los Angeles Dodgers and what they bring to the table, and what the Toronto Blue Jays bring to the table as well. So what I want to do is talk through each team, strength, weakness, how I think they win the World Series, an X factor for them, and we'll do that for each team. And then I want to compare and contrast the offenses. Who's better offensively, defensively, starting pitching, manager, and that will lead up to the prediction of the World Series and my World Series champion. So we got a good bit to talk through. It's all going to lead right up to game time. Just kidding. We're not going to be live for 8 hours. But we do have a lot to talk through. So let's do it. We're going to start with the Dodgers. The Los Angeles Dodgers, let's go over to this screen. I think it should work properly. Sure does. Sure does. Let's make sure everybody can still hear me on this screen. Sure can. All right. We're going to start with the Dodgers. Los Angeles Dodgers are a team built on their starting pitching, right? And they can have three superstars in their lineup, but we can still sit here and say in this postseason, they are built on what they have in the starting rotation. So here's their roster here. We're going to go to pitching and just look at this. So we're going to see Blake Snell in game number 1. It's going to be Blake Snell for the Dodgers against Trey Savage for the Blue Jays. We'll talk a little more about Trey Savage when we get over to them. Blake Snell, tough to be better than him. Tough to be better than him so far in the playoffs. He's 3-0, a 0.86 ERA, and 21 innings pitched. He has 28 strikeouts and a .090 batting average against. He's been absolutely fantastic, okay? So he's going in game 1. Then there's Yamamoto going in game 2. Then probably Shohei Ohtani and Tyler Glasnow. And this team, the Dodgers, is built on their starting pitching. So that is their strength. The Dodgers' strength is their starters. And look, this whole playoffs, I've been saying their starting pitching plus the 3 MVPs in their lineup. I don't think I'm done saying that. It's just their starting pitching at this point. That's their big strength. That's why they're here right now. And if you don't slow down this starting pitching, the Dodgers are going to go back-to-back. That's for sure. So this rotation, Snell, Ohtani, Glasnow, Yamamoto, and the NLCS, they were historically good. No team in history in a postseason series of 3 games or more had an ERA as good as them, a staff ERA of 0.8 or 0.96, I believe. Nobody's been that good. Nobody has done what they did in terms of the first 4 games of a series, allowing 1 or fewer runs in those games. Well, the series only went 4 games, and they did that in every single game. So this pitching has just been fantastic. That's how the Dodgers are built. If we're going to talk weakness of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the weakness is going to be, we're going to go back to this screen. The weakness of the Dodgers is their bullpen. Now, bullpen got a couple points about the bullpen. One, the fact that they've been able to hand the ball to Roki Sasaki has been huge. I actually don't know if the Dodgers are here right now without Roki Sasaki doing what he has been doing in the back end of the bullpen. And who saw that coming? Who saw that coming a month ago when he wasn't even back up in the big leagues, or maybe a month and a half ago? So to be able to hand the ball to him back there has been huge. I don't think the Dodgers are here right now without him because their bullpen has not been good. Blake Trine and Tanner Scott have not been good back there. They're supposed to be the guys. So you found this X factor in Roki Sasaki and have just been handing him the ball in the biggest moments, in the biggest situations of the game. On the contrast of things, another weakness, or the reason this is the weakness with Trinan, who has not been good, and Tanner Scott, who wasn't even on the CS roster, their lefties out of the pen have been good in Vesia and Banda. And a point that needs to get brought up here is that Alex Vesia has been, he's on the family emergency list. So he did not travel with the team to the World Series. He will not be pitching. And I don't want to speculate at all, but terrible. Just you feel awful. You feel terrible for the guy. To get to the World Series and to be ready for the game's biggest stage and to have a family emergency like he has had it goes beyond saying it's a big blow to the Dodgers team. It almost feels like it downplays the situation a little bit to say it's a big blow to the Dodgers bullpen. I feel for Alex Vesia. I feel for his wife. I feel for his family, and I hope everything is going to be okay. But Alex Vesia will not be on the World Series roster due to a family emergency. So he stayed back in Los Angeles. The X factor for the Dodgers, I mentioned him already, is going to be Roki Sasaki and how he does at the back end of the bullpen. If he continues to be good, their Dodgers are going to be tough to beat. I think for the Blue Jays to win this series, they're going to have to win a game that Roki Sasaki came in up a run or two, and then he blows it. I think that the Blue Jays are going to have to win a game like that because the starters are so good. You know they're going to have the lead a couple of times later into the game. You're going to have to get to Roki Sasaki. So to me, he's their X factor. He's been the X factor for them since before the playoffs started when he came up out of the bullpen, and I said this guy could be the big X factor for the Dodgers with that stuff and putting him in the bullpen, and he has been this far, and he's going to continue to be this October. They have bullpen struggles. They need help in the bullpen. Roki Sasaki is that help when he's right, so he will continue to be the X factor for me. Let me check in on the chat a little bit and see what we're saying. Just want to say welcome to Toronto, Ben. Hope you enjoy your stay here. Toronto's been incredible. Incredible. I've loved it here. The people are so kind. Every step of the way, everybody's been so kind. The food is incredible. I've never been here. It's incredible. I love it here. So thank you for saying that. Let's see. I love that Bo has a chance to make his playoff moment. I'm from India learning about how to play baseball. Can you give some tips? Not in this stream. I can't, but I have a lot of tips for you. I did play professional baseball for 5 years. But this World Series preview doesn't feel like the time to give some tips. But we're going to keep talking about this World Series preview. I'll give you some tips on how this series is going to go. And now we're going to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. This team is just riding on vibes right now. And I don't mean that as they aren't a good baseball team and they're just riding what they're doing right now. No, this is a really good baseball team that is riding a high right now on the vibes. They are hot at the plate, which is what this team is built on, is this offense. The offense is so good. This offense, this offense has the ability to score in multiple ways. There's speed. They have a fantastic approach. They can hit for power. Obviously, George Springer adds to that as well. It's not just Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who has had a historic postseason so far. He's hit 6 home runs. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has hit 6 home runs this postseason. And he's only struck out 3 times. That's crazy. 6 home runs also ties a franchise record for most home runs in a single postseason for the Toronto Blue Jays. George Springer in Game 7 of the ALCS hit that home run. Biggest home run in Blue Jays history since Joe Carter. Tough to beat Joe Carter, by the way. I know maybe a lot of you have heard biggest home run since Joe Carter and not exactly known what that means or why. Joe Carter's home run was in Game 6 of the World Series. It happened to be the final game of the World Series, and his home run was a walk-off. So he hit a walk-off home run to win the World Series. It's tough to beat that. But George Springer's is the biggest since that moment for Toronto. This lineup is what I keep saying about their approach and why I think they match up well, perhaps better than the Seattle Mariners would have, is because the Mariners strike out a ton. The Blue Jays are the opposite of that. Since the beginning of May, they have the least strikeouts in all of baseball. Let's go check on that. Let's bring up this screen, and we're going to check on some statistics and see. I think they might have had the least amount of strikeouts in all of baseball this year, all season long. Let's see. This wasn't the stats I thought I was going to be getting. Statcast leaders, players. I guess we'll just click stats. Here we go. Team. Regular season. And then we'll go to strikeouts. Okay, so the Kansas City Royals struck out the least in all of baseball by 3 strikeouts, and just behind them was the Toronto Blue Jays. So the second least amount of strikeouts in all of baseball all season long by just 3 strikeouts belongs to the Toronto Blue Jays. Contrast that to what I was talking about with the Seattle Mariners, and I would imagine they're down here somewhere. They're at 25. They struck out a lot more. So the Toronto Blue Jays approach, they put the ball in play, and that's what's so important for this team against this Dodgers rotation that wants to strike you out. And why I say that is because if you're not getting the strikeouts, if you're not getting the swing and miss, what that does is more guys will take their walks and more guys will, be able to get deeper into counts. And look, if I can point at any weakness of the Dodgers rotation, it's that they have a few guys that you can put some pitches in them and get them out of the game earlier than later. And I would mention Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, to an extent, Shohei Ohtani are guys that you need to get out of the game early. If you want a chance to win. If you let those guys go 7-8 innings, you're in a lot of trouble. So those guys can throw a lot of pitches, and I think this Blue Jays lineup is able to capitalize on that and put pitches in them and get them out in maybe the 5th inning or maybe in the 6th inning, as opposed to what we've been seeing from these other teams and the Phillies and the Brewers in the postseason, where these starting pitchers are going 8 innings, 9 innings in the case of Yamamoto, and at that point you're not going to win those ball games. So keep an eye out on that. Are the Blue Jays going to be able to put the ball in play, work deep into count, and put some pitches in these pitchers? If the Dodgers pitchers are throwing 15 to 20 pitches per inning, that's kind of your bookmark for if you're a pitcher, you want to stay around that 15 mark. If you're an offense, you want to get that pitcher over that 15 pitches per inning mark. And then at that point, you're at 60 pitches through 4 and 90 pitches through 6. So if you can get over that mark and get him around to 100 pitches through 6, he's probably not going to go back out for much longer. So I really like what this Blue Jays offense brings to the table. These are strikeout numbers, and they are down towards the top in terms of not striking out a ton. And then when it comes to on-base percentage, the Toronto Blue Jays have the best on-base percentage in all of baseball. So they don't strike out a lot. All season long, they had the best on-base percentage in all of baseball. Let's go look at OPS. OPS, they rank 3rd. This team is built on their offense and their approach, and I keep mentioning their approach and how good it is. What I mean by that is they do have their guys that can hit the ball out of the yard. Yes, Vladdy Jr., George Springer, those guys can take you deep at any second. Dalton Varsho has been very good. Bo Bichette is coming back, which we'll dive into. But just the ability to move the runner over, to get the guy in, to put the ball in play, to work deep into counts if you feel the need to work deep into counts, to jump on a guy if you feel like you're going to get a first pitch fastball. They just do the little things right offensively, and I've really enjoyed watching their approach this postseason. And you, of anybody on this Blue Jays team, you probably know the name Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's not just this big power hitter, this big power threat. Vladdy's an all-around hitter, and I think he kind of encompasses what this lineup is all about. He has 6 home runs in the postseason and only 3 strikeouts at the plate. And that's their approach. They're going to put the ball in play. They're going to drive the ball into the gaps. They're going to take the extra base. They're fantastic at doing that. So the Blue Jays' strength is their offense and their offensive approach. Let's talk about Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette has been announced that he is on the World Series roster. He has not played since September 6th or 9th. Before September 10th, Bo Bichette has not played in a Major League Baseball game. And then he starts to work back. You start to hear murmurs at the beginning of the playoffs. Bo Bichette might be back on this playoff roster. Then the question becomes, okay, he's not. Then comes time for the ALCS, and you hear Bo Bichette is likely to be on the ALCS roster. And then you hear, okay, last second, he's actually not going to be added. There was a bit of a setback, and then you start to hear, well, let's not call it a setback. I just think he wasn't ready. I'm still not quite sure he's ready, but it's the World Series, and we're doing it. And he's on the roster, and he's going to play. What does that look like is the interesting conversation to me. So there's a couple different parts of this. One, it's totally health dependent for me. And I don't know that answer. I've seen him run. I saw him take live BP yesterday. After when the Blue Jays had their workout, he stayed out there after with a couple guys and took live batting practice off of pitchers. And look, I don't know health-wise. I know baseball. I know how to look at baseball players. He looks good at the plate. I can tell you that. I didn't see him run the bases. I've seen videos of him running the bases, and that don't look great. But at the plate, he does look good. So how do they utilize him? Very health dependent. But I've seen a lot of, okay, well, don't mess with Mojo. Jimenez and Clement up the middle have been fantastic. Don't mess with that. And here's the thing. I love that narrative. I love the narrative of you don't mess with Mojo. Keep going with what works. But Bo Bichette is a star. Bo Bichette is a star player on your team. It's a little bit different with him. It's not just don't mess with Mojo. No, if this guy is able to be out there, like you need Bo Bichette out there. He's a stud. He leads the league and leads the American League and hits, and he's a stud. So what does that look like? Does he start in game one? I do know, again, I was out there for live batting practice yesterday, and one thing that I noticed is that Bo Bichette was playing second base. During live VP, he would go out and he was taking ground balls at second base. To me, what that says is if he's going to play in the field, he's going to do it at second base. Again, I don't know the lineup. I haven't seen it. All I know is I was there for live batting practice, and he was at second base, not shortstop. So I think if he plays the field, I think he plays second base. A little less range is needed. If you're wondering why, one, Andres Jimenez is a stud at shortstop. I mean, an absolute stud. But two, less range is needed at second base. It's a little less strenuous on your body over there. So maybe that plays a factor. And this is even if he starts. I personally think a good way to handle this would be to start the series by using him as a bench bat. The Dodgers are going to turn to, if this series goes 7 games, I wouldn't doubt it if Anthony Banda pitches 7 times. They're going to turn to him. Okay? So the ability to use Bo Bichette off of the bench when they bring in a lefty, I think would be huge. And then that allows you, at least later in the series, if you need to adjust, to be able to do that. Give him some more time to recover. Give George Springer some more time to recover. And then what that will allow is where George Springer is now as your designated hitter. Later in the series, it allows him to maybe get back to the outfield. But George is hobbling right now. George is in pain as well. So it's not just as simple as put George Springer in the outfield and then let Bo Bichette DH. It's not that simple. I think a good play for this would be Bo Bichette off the bench early in the series. And then if your backs are against the wall or you're needing more offense or a way to figure out how to incorporate him in every at-bat, then I think you can move George to the outfield and put Bo at DH. But we'll see what happens. Again, all of this is totally health dependent. I'm just happy he's back. And the narrative yesterday at Media Day from talking to all of the guys was, look, Bo has been such a massive part of this franchise and the reason that we are here as a team. And to not have him in the postseason has been tough. I believe it was Chris Bassett that said the second he went down, I went up to him, and I, as well as many guys on the team, went up to him and said, "You're going to play another game this year. We're going to get to the point where you have to play another game." And the ALCS wasn't that. And they went on to win that and get to the World Series. And now a big part of this will be how Bo Bichette is used. Okay, Toronto Blue Jays, their strength is their offense. Their offense and their offense approach. The Toronto Blue Jays' weakness is their bullpen. I have big question marks with their bullpen, both of these, to be honest. But the Dodgers have figured out a bit the back of their bullpen with Roki Sasaki. I have big concerns with the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. Where do they turn to? Where do they go? How do they get out these lefties? How do they get out Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman? The way that we have seen these guys held down in the postseason, Shohei Ohtani in particular, was what the Phillies did. And the Blue Jays don't have the ability to do what the Phillies did. What the Phillies did is they threw Cy Young caliber left-handed nasty stuff and executed their pitches perfectly against Shohei Ohtani. Christopher Sanchez, Shohei really struggled with him. That guy's a Cy Young caliber pitcher. He's going to be a top 3 finalist this year for the Cy Young Award. And he executed perfectly. And then who do they have to turn to? Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo, lefty after lefty after lefty that they were able to throw at Shohei Ohtani. Whereas the Brewers aren't going to be able to do that. They're going to have to find ways to get those guys out with bullpen arms. And I just don't. I have concerns back there. Sir Anthony Dominguez is going to be a big piece here. Louis Varland is going to be huge for them. Jeff Hoffman in the back end has been very, very hit or miss this year when it comes to locking down that 9th inning. So the Blue Jays' weakness is their pitching, their bullpen for sure. Let me look in at the chat real quick and take a peek at what you guys are saying. First game, as always, Snell will cook. Snell pitches in game 1, and you have to imagine he's going to be nasty because he is nasty. I think the question with Snell isn't, is he nasty or not? It's, can you get him out of the game? Like, can you make his line at the end of the day look more like 5 1/3, 8 strikeouts, 1 run? Or is it going to look like 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, 1 run, no runs? Big difference. The big difference is you're having a weak bullpen need to get 9, 12 outs if you can get him out earlier. But I don't feel like the conversation is, how many runs are the Blue Jays going to put up on Blake Snell? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? No, I think it's, he's going to get his. Blake Snell is nasty. He's going to get his. Can you get him out of the game earlier than not? But you're absolutely right. Blake Snell is nasty, and game 1s he's done really well in. I'm curious if Bo, while I like the guy, would be a good idea to bring in given his time away. Could be very risky. Good question. It is risky to a degree, but you're willing to take that risk with a guy like Bo Bichette. And this is no discredit to a lot of the other guys on the team. But if somebody else other than Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and maybe George Springer were in the exact position that Bo Bichette was and is in, where he hasn't played in a month and a half, and he's really going through it, injury-wise, still not even close to 100% in my opinion, I don't think you take the risk that the Blue Jays are going to take with Bo Bichette for the World Series, if that makes sense. And the risk might be as minimal as we're going to have him on the roster and we're going to use him as a pinch hitter. And if need be, like if we have to pinch hit somewhere, we'll put him in at second base for an inning or two and hope the ball doesn't get hit to him. I don't know. I think he's going to be used as a tool off of the bench. But you're absolutely right. It is risky. It's for sure risky. Shohei about to knock the the Blue Jays out of the sky. Quick side note. Shohei Ohtani, one, it was cool yesterday at Media Day to catch up with him and to talk to Shohei. And he comes out and goes to sit down at his little booth, and I'm the first one there, and he comes and daps me up. And people are calling it the greatest dap of all time, the perfect dap, the dap of all daps. I've heard it all. You can call it what you want to call it, but word is spreading north of the border that it was the perfect dap with Shohei Ohtani. Feel free to go look on my social media. But then I stuck around until like 8:30 last night because I heard that he was going to take batting practice on the field. I got word from their hitting coach that he was going to take BP. So I waited around, and their workout started at 7. There was no sign of Shohei until literally like maybe 8:15, 8:30. And then he, sure enough, did come walking out. And I was there to get his BP, to watch his BP. It is insane. It is unlike anything that you have ever seen. before he ended up with the Dodgers, it was unlike anything that they have ever seen. I mean, these players are in awe. When he hits the ball during batting practice, players on the team literally scream, literally yell out and like, oh my gosh. And like, he was in the same group as Freddie Freeman. At one point, Shohei Ohtani hit a ball off of the hotel rooms out in center field, which is remarkable. Shohei Ohtani or Freddie Freeman came in the box after him and went to the same direction of the field, and like they were all talking with each other, and Freddie was like, "I'm gonna hit a ball right there," and he hit a ball in the same direction and was yelling for it to go, 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 and he goes up close, came up about 4 tiers short. So these guys are like, they view Shohei Ohtani as this creature from another planet that is not supposed to be doing what he's capable of doing with a baseball and a baseball bat. It's insane. But to watch his BP is something that I hope for everyone that's a fan of baseball. The sound is different. The distance is different. Everything about what he does is absolutely different. Okay. So back to the Blue Jays. Their weakness is their bullpen for sure. Which leads to my X factor, which we've talked about a lot. My X factor for the Toronto Blue Jays is Bo Bichette. For many reasons. How healthy is he? How productive can he be? Is he in the starting lineup? Can he be a starter for the Blue Jays? Is he a bench bat? Can he be productive as a bench bat? Does he have to go into the field if he pinch hits for say, Andres Gimenez? Does he then go into the field, and how is he there? There's just so many questions. Does he play at all? There's so many questions that he's the obvious X factor because he is a star when he is healthy. And he absolutely can help this Blue Jays team win the World Series. So he is the Blue Jays X factor. Let's now talk through each team, offense, defense, manager, starting pitcher, bullpen, and then we'll get to a prediction and kind of compare and contrast here between the two. And what I do want to say before I get to it and get to my final prediction is that just because one team is a little lopsided obviously doesn't mean they're going to win the World Series or even that might be how the narrative plays out here. Look, I sat here and did this before the Blue Jays-Yankees series and said, I don't see where the Blue Jays have an advantage, in which category. And I was wrong. There's no other way around it. I mean, the Blue Jays were by far the better team than the New York Yankees. In every facet of the game, they were the better team. So keep that in mind here. But we're going to go step by step and say where each team has the advantage, and we're going to start with the offense. I'm going to give the advantage to the Los Angeles Dodgers here. I think the Dodgers having 3 MVPs at the top of the lineup, and then their non-MVPs are guys like Teoscar Hernandez and Will Smith, and they have Andy Pages in the 9 hole, who's capable of taking you deep at any time. Max Muncy. This lineup is insane. It's full of stars. This lineup is like stars amongst your other stars. And those stars are Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. And then the supporting cast is also a bunch of all-stars. It's insane. So like if I were to dive deeper and say offensive approach, I would go with, I think I would say the Blue Jays offensive approach. But like all in all, I'm going to side with the Dodgers for offensive purposes. Starting pitching rotation, I'm also going to go with the Dodgers here. I don't think we even need to spend a lot of time on that one. I think every Blue Jays fan that's watching can also admit that the Dodgers rotation is better than the Toronto Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays starting rotation is a little underappreciated. Trey Savage his story is unreal. Trey Savage threw his first professional baseball pitch this year, in April, right? His first pitch, I literally just had this. Yes, here it is. April 8th. April 8th of 2025, Trey Savage made his professional baseball debut. And now, October 24th, Game 1 of the World Series, he will be starting on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. So he only threw 3 regular season starts. 3. So for the record books, Trey Savage has 3 career starts, and now he's starting game 1 of the World Series. So the reason I say that I think the Blue Jays starting pitching is a bit undervalued is because let's go look at statistics. So we can look at team pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays in the regular season, and we can find that their team ERA is 19th. 19th out of 30. And in the American League specifically, 10th out of 15. Okay? So not great. But why I say it's undervalued is because Trey Savage wasn't pitching until the final. He had 3 outings. Shane Bieber was barely a Toronto Blue Jay until he was traded there and then had to get healthy. So Trey Savage, Shane Bieber, Kevin Gausman was great for you. Those are the guys that they're going to be throwing at you in the postseason. So throw the regular season numbers out the window. Throw the narratives out the window. You know, a lot of the guys that ballooned this team ERA aren't going to see the mound, aren't going to touch the baseball, so it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that Trey Savage is going to go in game 1, and he has been nasty. Let's go look at his postseason numbers. Player pitching postseason. Trey Savage. There he is. So, dang it, where did he go? There he is. So he's got a 4.20 ERA, but that was with 1 blow-up start. He's had 3 games started, and 2 were disgusting. One of them was the best rookie postseason start in the history of baseball. 15 innings pitched, 22 strikeouts, and just a 189 batting average against for Trey Savage. Again, I can't tell it enough. His story is awesome. He went to college at ECU. He got drafted. He made his professional baseball debut on April 8th. April 8th made his professional pitching debut, and now October 24th, he will be pitching in Game 1 of the World Series. Really cool story there. Let's check a quick peek in on the chat. Your Savage MLB speed run challenge, impossible. Who's the player you need to go clutch in Game 1 for each team? Good question. I think for me on the Blue Jays side of things, honestly, I'm gonna say Trey Savage. This moment's insane. Take a step back and think of this. Again, everything I just said. Made his debut on April 8th of this year, and now he's pitching in Game 1. He's had 2 really good starts in the postseason and 1 bad start. The player I think you need to clutch up is him. I mean, is the moment going to be too big? It hasn't been so far. Is the moment going to be too big? Is he able to dominate this Dodgers lineup like he's been dominating some other lineups? And that answer for me isn't so simple. The Dodgers have never seen him. Advantage Trey Savage. Freddie Freeman was talking about it at Media Day. We haven't seen him. We don't know what his pitches do. We don't know how his pitches move. We can look at scouting reports. We can look at video, but you're never going to be able to replicate standing in the box against him. And nobody on the Dodgers roster has done that. So that's an advantage Trey Savage. Now the Dodgers are very, very, very good. So are they able to still have success without seeing him? Absolutely, they are able to. They certainly could. But we'll see how that turns out. But my point is, this rotation is no slouch. A long roundabout way of picking the Dodgers as the better starting rotation, but don't sleep on Trey Savage, Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, and I'm guessing a Max Scherzer they turn to in like a Game 4. We will see. Defensively, I am going to take the Toronto Blue Jays as the better team here. I think defensive rating, they're both good defensive teams. The Toronto Blue Jays have the #1 defensive rating in baseball on Baseball Savant, I believe it was. #1 defensive overall rating. They're up there in every single category. Dalton Varsho is so good out in center field. Andres Jimenez is elite at shortstop. Vladdy Jr., Gold Glove winner over at first base. Another part of the whole Vladdy Jr. narrative I want to push across. This is not just this big, bad power hitter. He can hit for average. He can hit for power. He plays a good first base. He runs the bases hard. I love Vladdy Jr. And he's part of this really good defense of the Toronto Blue Jays. Everywhere you look, they play good defense. So I'm going to run with the Blue Jays here as the better defense. Bullpen. When it comes to the bullpen, it's almost a wash to me. If I have to pick, I'm going to go with the Dodgers because they've figured out the back end with Roki Sasaki. But I don't love either of these bullpen. I will give the edge to the Dodgers. Lastly is managers. John Schneider and Dave Roberts. I'm going to go with Dave Roberts here as a managerial edge. I think he's been fantastic now for 2 years in a row. Last year, what he did with that team, which was get however many outs you can from your starter and then bullpen chaos. I thought he handled that perfectly. And then this year, I came into the postseason saying, I am very intrigued by what Dave Roberts does because this is a completely different team, and he's going to have to manage completely opposite of the way he did last year. And he's done just that. He's been phenomenal. This is nothing against John Schneider. I like John Schneider. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think you can point to moves that every manager has made and question them. There were a couple from him in the ALCS, but guess what? They won, he got here, and he's been great. I think I just give a little bit of an edge to Dave Roberts, who I think has made leaps and bounds as the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers the last 2 years. He really has been fantastic. Let's check in on the chat before we get to World Series prediction. So if you have any questions, let me hear them, and then we're going to get to our World Series prediction. I know the chat is a little delayed, so I might not see them until I start that, but we'll see. Wishing both teams no injuries and no bad calls. Let's play ball. Love that. Love that. Scherzer Game 4 would be crazy. Yes, it would. Someone cue Kendrick Lamar music, Dodger Blue. Classic matchup here between artists, Canada and LA. Andy Pajes needs to get his back going. One thing that doesn't sleep, one thing that doesn't slump is a rocket for a right arm, and Andy Pajes has that for sure. Bo is the DH or pinch hitter. Can't play the field. I think I agree with you there. Chances of hitting a window are pretty high for the Dodgers. Well, nobody other than Shohei came close to hitting a window. That window's like 500 feet away. I mean, it's not high. Are you going to get some poutine? Okay, here's the deal. I've never been to Canada. I've loved it here. I've always heard of poutine. I wouldn't say the word itself makes me jump at the bit of like, wow, I want to try that. And then I really kind of dove in on what it is. And I think I have to. It sounds good. It's a Canadian staple. Is it a Canadian staple or a Toronto staple? I don't know. Either way, I'm in Toronto. And I've loved it here. I've loved every second of being here. I really have. So my answer is yes. Bo Bichette's on the roster. The answer is also yes to that. Bo Bichette is officially on the World Series roster. Saw a vid of Bo taking balls at second base. Yep, I saw that as well. I watched that even with Vesia out. Yeah, so I made the prediction with Vesia out changes a little bit, I would say. I have a graphic that I'm going to post today of the side-by-side comparisons of each, and I did originally pick the Dodgers, and admittedly, I'm kind of running with that same thing just to keep my opinions the same, but admittedly, the Vesia being out does change things for me. Obviously, the bullpen isn't as good for the Dodgers if that's the case, and I do think I think they're neck and neck in terms of bullpen as a weakness, and yeah, so that's my thought there. I'm just kind of running with what I predicted earlier. Welcome to multicultural Toronto, bud. Thank you so much. Thank you. I have loved it here. Canadian more than just Toronto. Poutine is delicious. All right. It is World Series prediction time. And before I get to mine, I want everybody in the chat that's watching and in the live chat to tell me your prediction, who wins, and in how many games. So when I am done with my prediction, I will go through and see who the majority of people think and in how many games. Here's my prediction. And again, running with what I originally predicted. I have the Dodgers winning in 6 games. Admittedly, being here in Toronto has made me second guess that. If I could run it back, if I could change it originally, maybe I would. But I'm not. But being here and feeling the vibe here has made me want to change my prediction. I will say that. I have the Dodgers winning in 6 games. I do think it gets back here to Toronto. I think the series gets back. I think it's a very evenly matched. I think it's a good series. To me, the question of who wins comes, can the Toronto Blue Jays get the Dodgers pitchers out of the game before the 7th inning more often than not? And I just don't know if that answer is going to be yes. In fact, I'm predicting Dodgers in 6, so I think that answer is going to be no. If that doesn't happen, the Blue Jays absolutely can win this series. I think it's an evenly matched good series. So I'm going to take the Los Angeles Dodgers in 6 games to win the World Series and go back-to-back and become the first back-to-back Major League Baseball champion since the year 2000. By the way, Major League Baseball is by far the sport with the longest break between back-to-back champions. By far. All the other major sports in the United States have had a back-to-back champion very recently. So, is baseball about to happen? I don't know. It's hard enough to get back to the World Series. Are the Dodgers going to become that team that brings a back-to-back back to baseball? That answer could very well be yes in a couple of days. We will see. But my prediction is Dodgers in 6. Let's go through what you all think. Dodgers, Jays, Dodgers, Jays, Jays, Dodgers. Herman just said 4-2. No team. He's just confident that it goes 6 games. I don't know who wins. I just know it's going to go 6 games. I got a feeling. And I love that guess. I agree with you. Dodgers, Dodgers, Dodgers. 6-7 Dodgers. I don't know what this 6-7 thing is. And that's how I know I'm getting old. I don't know what it is. I know the movement, but I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I think that's how you know you're getting old. When you say, I don't get it. That's me right now. Jays. Dodgers bullpen will lose 2 games. I think if the Dodgers bullpen loses 2 games, the Jays win the series. Book that. Jays, Dodgers, you can go home now. All right. It seems like it's pretty evenly matched in the chat. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be such a fun series. It is currently 1:20 Eastern time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in about 7 hours. We're about 7 hours away from the first pitch of the World Series. And it's at 8 o'clock. Probably be a couple minutes after that. 8 o'clock Eastern time on Fox is where everything goes down. So be sure to check all of that out. Also, anyone currently listening or watching, I appreciate every single one of you for being in here. It's truly a blast doing these. It means a lot, and I love interacting with you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the Major League Baseball YouTube channel, what are you doing? You got to do it. Subscribe to this channel. Enjoy the games. We might do a couple of these. We might do another one, maybe on at the midway point of this series, a little bit of an update. But I've loved doing these and really appreciate you all watching. And everything starts at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern time. Every game. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Every game time will start at that time. So be on the lookout and enjoy the World Series, my friends. I will probably be back in a few days, but until then, you can catch me any and everywhere. My social media, at Ben Verlander, everywhere you want to be on social media. My YouTube channel, I have a show, Flippin' Bats with Ben Verlander. I will be doing that a couple times throughout the World Series. I've already done my previews, which you've basically seen here. But yeah, check us out everywhere. I appreciate you all for being here. This has been a lot of fun. Los Angeles Dodgers at Toronto Blue Jays. First World Series game outside of U.S. borders since 1993. Joe Carter's walk-off starts tonight. in just a couple hours. Enjoy it, my friends. I appreciate you all. I will be back soon for more content about this World Series. See you guys.